All right, welcome everyone to Thursday night edition of Introducing Texacoin. I'm not just your host tonight, I'm also the founder and, as I say, the fearless leader. I'm the guy that's lucky enough to call himself, I don't know, the top guy. Um I don't know, should we pause and start again? Hold on. Let's What's up, everybody? It's Bobby Gray here, the founder and fearless leader of Texacoin, joining you for a Thursday night edition of Introduction to Texacoin. This is take two and hopefully the final take. But we want to dive headfirst tonight into the Texacoin story. We're recording this. Hopefully, it comes out great and it's incredibly useful, educational, and you have an opportunity to share it with other people that are also curious to learn what this Texacoin thing is all about. And so I was explaining just a moment ago that I was very stressed out earlier today preparing for tonight's call, not because I don't know what I'm talking about, not because I haven't told this story 1,000 times, but because this is the final opportunity on a Thursday night for me to share my version of the story with you. And so I want to run very quickly through a couple different versions of the story that I've used in the past. Depending on how long you've been around, you've probably heard all of these different versions, but I just want to give you the quick rundown of how we got to where we are today. And so the story begins with where we kicked off April of last year. And the April of last year story was all about how to get rich off of crypto. I'm going to share my screen with you here because I hope to do a little bit of a slideshow as we go. But the original version of this story was talking about how to get rich with crypto and why most people missed out on that opportunity. Bitcoin white paper was published back in 2008. The first block was mined in early 2009. And so, back then it was easy to miss out on it because we didn't hear about it until maybe 2017, 2018, maybe later. Maybe you heard about it a little bit earlier. But Bitcoin was the first. It cracked the nut, so to speak, on this really big challenge of how to remove the central authority from the digital money conversation. Anytime you've got digital money, you've always got a central authority that's keeping track of the accounts and balances and the transactions that are taking place with that currency. And so Bitcoin was able to figure out how to decentralize that concept and eliminate the need for a central authority in that conversation. And so we missed out on the Bitcoin money revolution. I missed it. Most of the people on this call missed it. Very few people actually got in on Bitcoin back in the early days. And so, that's certainly frustrating, but if you don't know, you don't know. Well, then Litecoin came out and Dogecoin was, actually one of the earliest alternatives to Bitcoin. Then we've got things like Ethereum and Ripple, Monero, Cardano, Binance. But fast forward to modern times, so to speak, Shiba Coin came out just a couple of years ago. And that was one of those things that most people thought was a joke. Most people thought it was worthless. And then next thing you know, there are billionaires made out of this goofy coin. Shiba Coin, of course, is a joke about Dogecoin, which was made as a joke as well. And so the strategy to get rich off of crypto is actually really simple. Find a cryptocurrency that's new. It's cheap. It's brand new. The whole world hasn't heard about it. They haven't bought and sold it yet. Do your research, do some due diligence, watch some videos, talk to people about it, and then you have to take a leap of faith. And if you pick the right project and you get in early enough, you can get rich off of it. And we've seen that happen time and time and time again. In fact, we talked in the original video about what would have happened if you put $100 into Litecoin or Doge or Ripple or Monero or Ethereum or Cardano or Binance or Shiba back when they first came out. Not on like day one, not like when the founders were getting their piece of the pie, but like by the time it hit an actual exchange. And I think when we did the math back then, it was something like 250,000 bucks if you put just $100 into each one of those things. And that's a huge return. And so, the conversation for Texacoin really started as like, hey, why not? All these other guys did it. There's a guy driving a Lambo somewhere, some right now, based on a coin that you've never heard about. And so the only question that anyone's really thinking about is like, which one of these cryptocurrencies is going to be next? Well, why can't it be Texit coin? Texacoin's got a real mission, a real vision, a real strategy. It's kind of following in the footsteps of some other projects that came before it that did well and some that did incredibly poorly. It's learning from these mistakes and taking all that knowledge, all that information, and moving forward into the future with a Texas based cryptocurrency, which has never been done before. And so that was version one of the introduction. Why not? And that was back when we had absolutely nothing going for us. We had a bunch of screaming Bitmain Antminer L3s in the garage of the back of my property. That's about the time that I bet the farm on the future of Texacoin, sold the property, and went all in on a big party that we threw in Austin last year, which was a total flop. But we started with nothing and we were honest about that. We said, we have an idea. We think that we can be successful. We don't have much to back it up other than the fact that all these other projects, whether they were serious projects or jokes, they ended up becoming extremely successful as well. Now, 99.999 out of 100 of these things fail. So the odds are certainly against us. And I told people back then, I said, I can't guarantee our success, but I can guarantee that I'm going to work hard every single day for our success. And I'm not one to give up. No one's going to outthink me. No one's going to outwork me, and no one's going to outlast me. And that's something that I can look you in the eye and tell you that you can absolutely count on. And so we got off to a good start and it began to work. And all of a sudden now people are coming out that I didn't know to hear the story. And they wanted to know, like, who is this guy that's starting this thing that's kind of caught our attention and interest? And I'm just kind of a normal guy, right? But at the same time, I might be the most famous guy in crypto that you've never heard of. So I've got a couple pictures here that I want to show you that'll demonstrate a little bit of the journey on the second version of the pitch, which is the most famous guy in crypto you've never heard of. And so here it goes, right? This is me and my family back in 2008. We went out to San Francisco, visited Alcatraz prison out there, and we went out to celebrate the retirement dinner of a guy named Bernard Van Nothis. Now, Bernard Van Nothis was the guy that started something called the Liberty Dollar. And the Liberty Dollar is something that I came across back in 2008 that I thought was absolutely incredible. In 2008, or 2007, 2008, I was on this journey to figure out what was wrong with the world. I knew that things weren't adding up. I knew this American dream that they'd always told us about was kind of not really true. And I went on documentary overload. I watched, everything I could get my hands on, from, Who Killed the Electric Car to An Inconvenient Truth to Sicko to Super Size Me, anything and everything, one side of the political spectrum all the way to the other, to try to find out what was wrong in the world. And I started like instituting these things in my life. So we bought a cow. This is Ashton and Samantha, I don't know, age 4 and 5, hanging out with the first cow that we ever bought. And this is lucky number 7 here. And we just wanted to start going local. We wanted to start supporting local farmers. We wanted to, have a connection with our food. And we were learning all this stuff from all these documentaries that we watched. And at the bottom of every rabbit hole that we went down was always the same thing. It was always about the money. And the question then became like, okay, well, who's doing something about the money? Well, I found this guy, Bernard Van Nothis. He started the Liberty Dollar and he was minting his own gold, silver, and copper coins. And I thought that guy was onto something. I said, that's a guy that's dealing with the root cause of everything that's wrong with the world today from my perspective. It's called the Liberty Dollar. And I joined up with the Liberty Dollar, became one of their regional currency officers. And then the guy got arrested. Then he announces his retirement. And I thought for sure, being like this, good barter expert, I was going to be the next in line to take over the Liberty Dollar. He chose somebody else, and I left and started the American Open Currency Standard. And so in early 2000 or late 2008, I joined forces with the Lakota Indian Nation right after they declared their sovereignty and independence from the U.S. government. And I talked them into issuing their own silver currency. And I tried to find some pictures of that earlier, and I just didn't have time to get it all together. But I did a lot of stuff as I went down this path. I went out to all the different events, the freedom rallies and the survival get-togethers, and I started promoting my own currency. This is all the way back in 2008. And so there's a picture of some of the coins that I created. One of the very first coins was the John Galt coin. And there we've got some Neo coins. There's the Lakota coin over there in the corner. But I was promoting the Liberty Dollar and the American Open Currency Standard back in the early days. I did well, and my work caught the attention of some people that were pretty popular in that community, and I ended up being invited to take an overnight train ride to retrace the footsteps of the people that created the Federal Reserve. If you know that story about the creature from Jekyll Island, it's a great book written by my friend Ed Griffin, and it was all about these very wealthy banker types that took this overnight train ride from New York all the way down to Jekyll Island, Georgia, to draft up what would become the Federal Reserve Act. And so we recreated that, and it was a great time. But the point is that I was there back in 2008, 2009, making my own coins, and it's coincidental that I did this back in 2008, starting my own currency, because somebody else somewhere else in the world in 2008 also started his or her their own currency as well. Of course, Satoshi Nakamoto, the famous story now about the unknown creator of Bitcoin. And so I don't know anybody else on planet Earth that started their own currency back in 2008, but little Bobby Gray did, based on what he was learning from all the conspiracy theories that he came across. And so did Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi, of course, went digital. Bobby went gold, silver, copper. I was convinced that the lights were going to go out and we were going to have the zombies, battling us in the streets, and we're going to have to trade, gold and silver and copper coins with those zombies for food and medical supplies and energy and all that stuff. So I started my own currency back in 2008, and I've been a champion of honest money for a very long time. What is that? 17 years now. I've been in this honest money discussion. And in 2012, I ended up designing and bringing to market one of the most famous coins in the world today. Of course, the original Bitcoin coin. This is the same year, in fact, that I went into Washington, D.C., went down to D.C., and testified about this very thing, alternative currencies. And here I am standing there in front of the Federal Reserve, holding up my Lakota Crazy Horse 5-ounce silver coin. And this is the same day that I testified in U.S. Congress about alternative currencies. And so that was 2012. That's just 13 years ago now. And so I've done a lot of stuff over the years, and I might just be the one guy on planet Earth that's credible enough and authentic enough to actually be here having this conversation with you today. There's a lot of guys that are around in crypto, a lot of guys that have been passionate about this kind of stuff. There I am back in August 2nd, 2012, testifying in U.S. Congress about the roadmap to monetary freedom, alternative and parallel currencies. And, there are a lot of guys that have been around this conversation for a long time, but they've already gotten into something crypto related. And then maybe they've succeeded or maybe they've failed. So people are saying, like, well, where have you been for the last, 17 years? Where have you been? It's been a long time. But that's something that I did back in 2012. In 2013, as many of you know, I had a spectacular business failure. My mint grew so fast, I wasn't able to manage it properly, and I ended up losing everything that I had. And that was a terrible thing for me and my family. We'd worked hard for 5 years building this business. We were making millions of coins. And I found myself saying, man, I should have started my factory in Asia. Everyone says you're kind of a fool for setting up a factory in the USA. All that manufacturing stuff is over there in Asia. And I was that guy that was saying, hey, man, we need to bring manufacturing back before that was like a popular conversation. We need to make our communities and great again. We need to vote with our wallets. And so I found myself, unfortunately, bankrupt. I lost everything I had, and it was very sad. It was a very traumatic time for my family, but I was glad to have that terrible thing happen when I was young. I was 33 when I lost everything. And I said, man, this is a disaster. I need to start over. I'm not ready to give up on precious metals. I've got an important mission of honest money that I'm working towards, but I got to regroup. I got to go somewhere where it's inexpensive to live and I can put my world back together. And I did that. And I took my little family. We went over to Asia. We set up in Thailand initially. We spent 4 years there, and then we spent a couple years after that in Singapore. But it was a really interesting time to be over in Asia because I was watching cryptocurrency unfold with this front row seat in the place where like crypto has really gotten its roots to go down very deep. And so here's a semi-famous picture of me hanging out in Thailand, talking about the call center scam. I was arrested and detained for a couple days back in 2017. The Thai police thought that they found the mastermind behind the call center scam, as they called it over there. And so I got to explain cryptocurrency to the Thai police generals. They had no idea what crypto was, but anyway, we were all learning about it together. And so that was me back in 2017, going and hanging out in jail for a couple days in Thailand. But I had this, like I said, a front row seat. And my friend called me and he said, "Yo, do you still have that like Bitcoin design that you crafted back in the day?" I said, "Well, I haven't made it in a long time." He goes, "Well, can I buy some of those things? And can I like pay you for it with Bitcoin?" I'd never done a Bitcoin transaction all the way up to that time in 2017. And he explained to me what he was doing. And he had this big project going on. He was building this mine and they had a big event coming up. And I said, "Well, look, based on my understanding of crypto, it seems to me that the biggest problem that people in the cryptocurrency industry have is getting hacked, or they're putting their money on exchanges and the exchanges are going bankrupt, or their computers getting wiped out in a flood or a fire. And like, I have an idea. I can take my world famous crypto Bitcoin design. I can take one of my lasers that I use to serialize statues that I'm making, and I can put a Bitcoin private key onto the back of that. And I can cover that with a tamper evidence security seal. And I can make something that I call a cold storage coin. And it's just a real simple, real easy, powerful way for people to keep digital assets safe offline where they can't get hacked and they won't go out of business. And so what you're seeing here is kind of the prototypes of the first cold storage coins that I made back in 2017 while I was living with my family in Thailand. At the end of 2017, we transitioned over to Singapore. And the reason for that is because if you're manufacturing something in Thailand, it's really hard for people to trust it. And when we're making something as important as a digital currency wallet, we want to make that in a place where people really respect and trust the manufacturing integrity. And that place by far is Singapore. And not only did we set up a factory in Singapore, the most trustworthy place in all of Asia to create those things, but I got to watch cryptocurrency unfold real time. And I'll never forget sitting on top of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel in beautiful Singapore and looking at my phone and seeing Bitcoin just touch $20,000 per coin back in, I don't know, I think it was like December 17th, 2017. And I said, "Man, this is going to change the world." And that was probably before most of you ever heard about Bitcoin as well. But I had this great front row seat because of the work that I was doing with these cold storage coins. And I'll just run through a couple pictures here for you real quick so you know how it's been going. Press Alt to show meeting controls. Okay. Let's see if we can share my screen and show you a couple other pictures here. So here we are in 2018. Excuse the the photo, but this is at the Marina Bay Sands Hotel in 2018. A big crypto conference went through there. This is the same place, incidentally, we're going to be in just a couple weeks as a gold sponsor for Token 2049, the biggest crypto event in the world. And there's U.S. Congressman Dennis Kucinich hanging out with some cold storage coins at an event. I don't know if you recognize that guy. We also have who we call Bitcoin Jesus, Roger Ver, hanging out with his Bitcoin Cash cold storage coin. So we did this in the early days before, just as Bitcoin and crypto were becoming this global sensation. We did it in Asia where it was, extremely popular conversation. Everyone's talking about it at every restaurant table. And so fast forward a couple of years, COVID happens. My family decides to come back to Texas and reintegrate with American life. My kids want to get that, Mean Girls high school experience, raised in the wild, in the jungles, homeschooled, and then do their last couple of years in USA public school. So we did that. We came back. They had a great time, and so I started another factory here, and I shouldn't have done it. I didn't want to do it, but that was all I knew, minting coins, coin manufacturing. And so I came back and started to pick up where I left off. And in 2023, I kind of decided that I had enough. I've been making coins long enough. I've made the finest coins for the industry. I've sold coins through the largest coin dealers in the country, and I'm ready to move on. And I did it because I knew that the world wasn't making any more gold and silver coin buyers. I knew that the world was going digital. And I've I'm in this really interesting spot where, I've got experience in tech and I've got experience in the Bitcoin crypto conversation. I've got this world famous product that, people use to store crypto. And I've got this real passion for honest money, alternative currency, and barter and community currencies and all that stuff that I was really good at for years. And I said, man, what are the odds that I might be the one guy that's qualified to start a USA based cryptocurrency? And I started to hear about this Texit thing. I started hearing about what if Texas leaves the United States? We've got all these problems. The administration's doing crazy stuff. We can't understand it. Texans are looking around and starting to think about the exit. And I heard somebody mention that on the Rogan podcast, and I said, "Ooh, I should design a coin to commemorate Texit." That's what I've always done. I hear about something in pop culture, and I design a coin for that cause. And I said, "No, not this time. I'm going to go digital." And so I sold my factory. It was just one day. I've been doing this for years, and one day I said, "I'm done." The caster exploded for the last time. Molten silver went flying everywhere. And I said, "I'm done. I'm out. No more. I'm going to go digital." And I sold all my equipment and I put everything I had into starting my own currency. And on January 26th of 2024, I mined the first block of Texacoin. I did it out of my spare bedroom at the house. We eventually ended up setting up ASICs back in the garage. I looked around and I had already built exactly what I needed to mine cryptocurrency through a proof of work crypto. I've got big power. I've got three phase. I know all about industrial cooling and airflow and ventilation. And I've already built this big, beautiful facility. And I said, okay, it's far fetched. People do it all the time, but I've known for 7 years now that I'm going to get into crypto. I just didn't know what the right vehicle was. So I took my experience, my background, and leveraged my reputation on starting Texacoin. And that's pitch number two. It's like, okay, we want to get into crypto. We want something that we can at least look somebody in the eye and decide if they're telling the truth. Well, who's this guy? And what is it that makes this Bobby Gray guy qualified in any way whatsoever to be telling us about cryptocurrency? Well, that's my background. I've done these 5 things that make me uniquely qualified to actually have this conversation with you today. I started my own currency in 2008. I created the original Bitcoin coin in 2012. I testified in US Congress in 2012 about alternative and complementary currencies. Before most people ever heard about Bitcoin, I was the guy that was talking about it in US Congress. 2017, I dust off my original Bitcoin design. I take my first Bitcoin transaction in and I create cold storage coins, a powerful, simple way for people to keep their crypto safe offline where it can't get hacked and won't go out of business. Now you can take a digital asset and hold it in the palm of your hand thanks to this guy right here. Fast forward another couple of years, I sell my factory and I go all in on Texacoin, the future of money here in Texas. And so that's what makes me qualified to be the guy that's telling you a thing or two about cryptocurrency. And I challenge you to find somebody more authentic in this conversation that hasn't already done their thing, hasn't already tried it and either succeeded or failed. This is a brand new thing for me. And it's very exciting that it's worked so well. So that's introduction number 2. All right, let's move on to introduction number 3. This one's really fun. Is it a scam? All of a sudden, Texacoin is starting to take off. We hit profitability back in November. That's when it started to get really fun. Back in November, I think I got a chart here that shows you how we were doing. Back in November, we hit profitability. Why does profitability matter? Our whole conversation changed back when we hit profitability because it wasn't this far-fetched, harebrained idea anymore. When we hit profitability, we changed the conversation and started saying things like, hey, here's what we're going to do with the money. Now, when you're losing money, you really don't have many options on what you can do. You're going to do everything you can and put every dollar into just making payroll. But we changed the conversation. We said, we're going to do three things with the money. We're going to build the mine, we're going to pay our commissions, and we're going to promote our coin. And when we hit profitability in November of 2024, it gave us the ability to start actually earmarking a budget for promotion. And I challenge you to find any cryptocurrency or network marketing affiliate program out there that's actually putting as much money into advertising and promotion as we are. I don't think it exists. But the big question that was in everyone's mind as they're coming out and getting together in these barbecue joints and these dinners and living rooms is it a scam? Because that's what everyone's thinking. Is it a rug pull? Is it a meme coin? Is it a pump and dump? Is it a pyramid? Is it a Ponzi? What is it? Because 99.999% of them out there are total scams. What is it that's going to make this one different? That's the only question that people want to have answered. And so my presentation back then was, is it a scam? And that's a big question because it's literally the $1 million question. Now, I don't remember exactly where we were. I think we were maybe at 10 or 12 cents back then. But it's $1 million question. Because if you decide that it's a scam and you don't put that $1,000 in today that I'm going to ask you for, and you stay on the sidelines because you don't like it, you don't trust it, you think it's a scam, and I'm right, and I can take this crypto up to $100 a coin, you're going to lose out on $1 million upside. Everyone is looking for that 1,000x return. Everyone's looking in crypto. Crypto is the only conversation you can have in the investment arena where you can talk about a 10 or 100 or 1,000x return and not get laughed at. If you go out there to buy a house and fix it and flip it, like what are you going to make? 20, 25, 50% on your money? You're not going to 10x your money on that deal. But everyone's looking for that 10 or 100 or 1,000x return in crypto. So all they want to know, is this one a scam? And that's where I go through each one of those, common objections one by one. I'm not going to go through the in-depth details. I'll go through them real quick. Is it a rug pull, right? Is it something where I'm building up to get the price high and then I can dump all my coins and run? You can look at our numbers and you'll see that the top holders of Texit are getting smaller, smaller, smaller as our community grows. That's by design. It's very hard today for us to do a rug pull. We don't have enough liquidity. We didn't cook up 1 trillion tokens out of thin air, give them out to our friends and buddies. We don't have the liquidity to dump the coin. I came up with a promotion the other day, and I regret it a little bit. Every 1, 2 free you get 100 TXC this month. That's going to cost me something like 300,000 TXC. At $3 plus, it's $1 million bonus that I probably should have thought through before I introduced it. We don't have the liquidity to do a rug pull. Is it a pump and dump? We have a very strict no influencer policy. We don't pay for promotion. The advertising and promotion that we do today is very limited. It's our brand icon, it's our logo, it's our ticker symbol, and it's our price. Mine, trade, spend. That's it. There's no call to action. I don't even put a QR code on there for you to scan and go somewhere online to learn more. It's just our price. That's it. That's our strategy. Just basic brand awareness. But we're not out there paying influencers to pump, 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 pump. That's not our strategy. That may be our strategy someday, but today we're building the mine. Phase 1 is all about building the largest privately owned decentralized mine in the world right here in Texas. It's not a pump and dump. Is it a pyramid scheme? Because you got this referral system in there, right? That pays out commission. You draw the things on the whiteboard, the triangles and the circles. Yeah, we've got a great affiliate program. Is it an MLM? Don't use those letters. I hate those letters. No, it's not. It's a one-time fee. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. And we've got a product that you can't find on the shelf at Walmart for 10 cents on the dollar. But what makes us not a pyramid scheme is the fact that everything is capped. If you're all the way at the top or all the way at the bottom, you have the ability to make just as much money as anybody else in this deal. That's an important distinction that the FTC requires to make sure that the guys at the top that got in early aren't making all the money. If you decide to help us grow and promote our project, you can make just as much money as me, the guy at the top. I cap out at $3,000 a week. That's it. If you want to roll up your sleeves and get to work on helping us build the mine, we encourage you to do so. If you see the dots that we see and you want to connect those by sharing our story with your community, great. We're going to pay you a commission for that. There's a vested interest in here for you to help us build and grow. We want the largest holders of Texit Coin and Texit Coin mining to be the people that have done the most to help us get to our goal. But there is a limit on how much you can earn. That's a turnoff for some people that come from the world of network marketing. Well, if I can't make a $500,000 the first month, I'm not interested. Well, this project's not for you. This project's made the opposite of a pyramid scheme where everybody has the ability to build an organization if they want to, not required, but they have the ability to make just as much as anyone else that wants to help us build and grow. Is it a Ponzi scheme? Absolutely not. We're not borrowing money. The money that you put in is like a one-time donation to this guy with your fingers crossed that I'm going to be a good steward of your money and the risk that you've taken. I'm going to pay the affiliate commissions. I'm going to build the mine. I'm going to promote our coin. There's other stuff that I do too. We develop the code. We pay the developers. We pay for the listing fees to get on exchanges. We pay for promotion. We also build out our liquidity pools. So there are things that I do with the money to follow through on the promise that I make to you. But I'm not borrowing money. I'm not promising you a return. I'm not taking the money that came in yesterday and paying off the guys that came in last week. If nobody goes out and sells anything this week, I pay zero commissions. It's the most beautiful system because I cannot get myself in a position where I can't keep up with the liabilities. There's no borrowing. There's no promise of a return. It is our job to work together to get Texacoin to have a market value. I don't promise a market value. I tell you that if we grow and if we put our money into promotion and liquidity support, we think we can get to these levels. In fact, I'm pretty sure I can get us to $16 by February of next year. But is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. It's fully dependent on our ability to continue to grow. And that's dependent on our ability to do the right thing and follow through. And I've got a pretty long track record so far. We're on week 76 now of doing a good job following through on the promises that I've made to you. But it can't be a Ponzi because I'm not borrowing money. I'm not promising a guaranteed return. If sales shut off next week, there would be $0 in commission paid out. That's it. And we'll continue to be able to run the mine because of our merge mining. That means we're taking Litecoin and we're selling that to pay our electric bill. It's a perfect plan. What's the other one? Meme coin, pump and dump. I think that's it. So you have to decide in introduction number 3 whether or not you think this is a scam. It's a risk, but there's a big difference between risky and scammy. We want you to understand that it is an incredible risk. And what we're doing is incredibly different from how everybody else does it. But we've got a plan, and the plan is working. What's the plan? Bring the money in, pay the commissions, build the mine, promote the coin. Today it's working. You got to make that decision. Now, here's the best part about the is it a scam question. You only have to decide one time. If you decide to take the leap of faith, you've done your due diligence, you did some homework, you talked to some people, you researched it, and you come to the conclusion that you'd like to be on our rocket ship, you put your money in one time. Now, we want you to dive in after that. We want you to learn as much as you can. We want you to join the Zoom calls. We want you to connect with the community on Telegram. We want you to get involved. We want you to take some of your TXE output and sell it on the market. We don't have enough sellers of Texacoin today. We got a lot of people that really want to hold on. Thank you. That's great. I appreciate the vote of confidence. But guys, I need you to sell some Texacoin. The first time you sell Texacoin, you go, oh, it worked. Everyone said it was a scam, but it really worked. What happens is you're teaching yourself how to do this thing. A lot of us are doing crypto for the first time here. We don't know how to buy and sell in markets. This is all foreign and very uncomfortable. And I do not want 58,000 phone calls in February of 2026 at $16. Can you help me sell? Can you help me sell? No. I've been trying to teach you for a year and a half now on exactly how to get in and become comfortable moving crypto around. It's weird stuff, guys. But we've got lots of time right now to learn it. So when the day comes for you to sell and get off that rocket ship, and get the boat or pay off the house or get one of those fancy Lambos like the other crypto bros, whatever that means for you, what crypto rich looks like for you, I want you to have it. But I want you to practice now because I would hate for you to make a terrible mistake When the time comes for you to sell and you make a mistake, you mess it up. Oh gosh, that would be so terrible. Back when we were worth 2 cents, it was all fun and games. It's $3 a coin now. So if a coin gets lost in the mail with 1,000 coins on it, that's a terrible tragedy. So let's learn what we can now. The next thing that happens is when you sell some crypto and you understand that it's real, you can do that as a powerful marketing tool. You got somebody you're talking to, let's go out to lunch. I'll buy and I'll pay with Texit coin. Click, click, click. You sell your Texit coin, you turn it into USDT, or maybe the restaurant takes Bitcoin, you turn it into Bitcoin, you pay with Bitcoin, and voila. Now it all makes sense. Now you understand the currency aspect of it. So I want you to sell some of this stuff so you can understand that this project is real. It's legit. Is it guaranteed? No. Is it risky? Absolutely. Should you ever get involved with more than you're comfortable with? Absolutely not. But it's a real project. And if you decide that it's a scam and you sit on the sidelines and you watch all your friends get rich without you, you're going to be bummed out. You probably watched it already with Bitcoin, maybe with Ethereum, maybe with Shiba Coin. This is a new chance for you to reevaluate that, connect with real people, and decide for yourself whether or not it's something that's worth your attention. And if you decide the answer is yes, I want you to put that $1,000 in. I want you to take the journey with us. And I'm pretty sure you'll be glad that you did. But is it a scam? That was question number 3. That was pitch number 3. And that kind of works on what my waiter at the sushi restaurant that I really enjoy calls FOMO marketing, right? It's like you really just don't want to miss out on it. And that reminds me of one of these really great demotivator posters that I had back when I was a computer consultant in like 1999. I had this big poster. It said, "Idiocy. Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups." And it's like, what are we doing? We're talking about zeros and ones being worth $115,000. That's so dumb. Once the world realizes that it's all just fake, intangible, digital nonsense, the value is going to crash. And there's a good argument there. I get it. But once you realize that a currency is simply a promise, we could use this piece of paper as a currency if we want. We basically use worthless paper as a currency today. What gives it its value is the community, the marketplace of buyers and sellers that are willing to exchange their goods and services for that paper or for those zeros and ones out there. And it sounds idiotic, but when you get a large enough community of people together that decide for themselves without the government forcing them to do it, that they want to use an alternative, there's power there. Look at Texit Coin. Started at nothing, right? My wife told me, she's like, you got to stop telling people that Texit Coin's basically worthless. It's very, very, very low in its value, but it's not worthless. And she's absolutely right. I always like to err on the side of full disclosure and caution. It ain't worthless today, is it? Well, what happened? A large enough group of people got together and decided that they wanted to do something extraordinary. That's all that it takes to start a movement. And we've got it. And that's kind of the pitch that I use today. Pitch number 4 is what I call the Bitcoin time machine, right? Bitcoin time machine is all about the question of utility. People say, what's the utility? Oh, by the way, there's Samantha. Last time you saw her, she was age 3, 2 or 3. I guess we bought that cow in 2007. She was born in 2005. So it was like 2. And here she is, a nice young lady hanging out with the Texit DeLorean, the time machine. This is our friend Maddie's, and he was very gracious enough to get some cool decals put on it to show off the crypto time machine, as I call it, which is kind of the pitch that I've been using most recently. And it's all about, the fact that a lot of people missed Bitcoin, but they're asking us like, okay, well, I get it, but what is Texcoin all about? Like, what's your utility? And we say, well, that's the easiest question for us to answer. Our project is all about picking up where Bitcoin left off. Those crypto kids, the guys that started it, they got rich, they sold out, they got their Lambos, their yachts, their supercars, They sailed off into the sunset and they forgot that Bitcoin was created to be a digital, decentralized, peer to peer currency, an alternative form of money. Back 10, 12 years ago, what Bitcoin people were doing is exactly what we're doing today. That's why I know we're going to be successful. They were going out to the gun shows, they were going out to the coin shows, they were having meetups, they were having dinners and barbecues and putting balloons up and fairs and festivals. They were the guys that were excited about this alternative money, this money that for the first time in hundreds of years put the control of the money back in the hands of the people. That's something to get excited about. But they got rich. They sold out. It's okay. Some of us are going to sell out as well. But they did it back then because it was all about the mission. They did it back then because it was all about the utility. It was all about Bitcoin's original promise to be a digital, decentralized, peer to peer currency, money for the people, by the people, taking currency away from the banks. Banking and money, banking and currency are two totally different things. But somehow, over the last 100 and something years, the banks have weaseled their way into the currency conversation. Try going into a bank right now and taking out $20,000 cash. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you need it for? What are you doing with it? We have a limit on how much we're going to give you. It's my money. You were just supposed to hold on to it, keep it safe. They do a great job of that. But now I want it. Could you send a wire off to Coinbase for me? No, I'm sorry. That's against our bank's policy. What? Texit coin is a crypto time machine. We're going back to when crypto was all about the mission, all about the utility, digital, decentralized, peer to peer currency. Texit coin is a clone of Litecoin. We started with a blank slate, no pre-mine. Litecoin was created as a faster, less expensive alternative to Bitcoin. Oh, is Texas coin a security? Absolutely not. Is Bitcoin a security? Is Litecoin a security? It's already been made very clear that we're allowed to use Bitcoin, Litecoin, no problem. Why can't we use Texacoin? It's a clone of Litecoin. Texacoin is picking up where the Bitcoin bros left off when they forgot what it was all about. You go out to a big crypto conference today, man, it is all big money there. Oh, the CEO of JP Morgan is giving the keynote speech. We're linking in with the banks. We're friends with the banks now. Oh, we've lost our way, guys. There's nothing wrong with being friends with the banks. There's nothing wrong with using, the bank network to off ramp back into dollars. We still need dollars to pay mortgages and car payments and advertising. We live in a world where we want to have lots and lots of options and alternatives. Those two things can coexist. But what's happened is Bitcoin has been taken over. The largest holders of Bitcoin now, BlackRock. We've lost our way. Largest miners of Bitcoin now, China. How can you get excited? How can you be passionate about something that's controlled by BlackRock and China? Did they have something great with this financial technology? Absolutely. Did they let it slip through their fingers? They absolutely did. And Texacoin is a crypto time machine to go back to when it was all about the utility, digital, decentralized, peer to peer currency. That's my favorite pitch. If you need a go to, what is Texacoin? It's a Bitcoin time machine. It's going back to the early days when it was all about digital, decentralized, peer to peer money. Well, what's the utility? What are your tokenomics? Oh, la, la. These are words and questions that are cooked up by people that have heard about ICOs and meme coins. That's not what we are. It's way more simple than that. Be confident in your presentation. We're going back to when Bitcoin was all about the mission of alternative currency. That's introduction number 4. Where are we today? I'd call the introduction that's my favorite today the Ron Paul barbecue speech. We've got this really great thing here with Texacoin, right? We've looked at the charts. We see the excitement. Any night of the week, there are 4 or 5 events going on all over the country. It's not just Texas anymore. We've got a really great thing. It's growing fast. We're all over the place. At first, people in Colorado were like, we can't really pitch this thing here because it's called Texit, Texas. It's all about like that doesn't work here. Our biggest community, our fastest growth today is in Florida. We're all over the place. We've got 600 billboards all over the country now, sharing our story, sharing the price, sharing our brand, just getting people curious. We've got a great system today. The money comes in, we build the mine, we pay the commissions, we promote the coin. That's it. Who would have thought that in 2025, a revolutionary act of business is just following through on what you say you're going to do? But here we are. Why is it working so well? Because we have a great system. And our system has become this self reinforcing cycle. They call it a positive feedback loop. Money comes in, we put the money back out into marketing and promotion. Well, that attracts more attention and more interest. More money comes in, we have more money for liquidity, the price grows. Price grows, gets people attention. They come in and they join us as miners. Then we got more money for marketing and advertising. It's a self reinforcing cycle now that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's a slow week this week. You know, you look at the numbers, we've only done 4.3, 4.4 million. I remember a month and a half ago that $1 million week was mind blowing. Now we average, 3, 4, 5 million a week. And it's only going to continue to get bigger as we continue to follow through on our word and do the right thing. Why? Because everyone's looking for it. Everyone's looking for the next thing. We talked about that. That's, pitch number one. All of a sudden, now here we are, just a bunch of ordinary people doing something extraordinary because we followed through. It's working just as we expected. But here's my favorite thing today. Texit coin is what happens when honest money is connected with financial technology. Texit coin is what happens when you take a great financial technology like crypto. What makes crypto great? It's the most honest and accountable form of money planet Earth has ever seen. What? More honest than gold and silver? Gold and silver are honest money. They sure are. But if I put a gold coin on the table in front of you, could you decisively tell me that it's pure gold? If I gave you a silver coin, would you know for sure that it wasn't a fake silver coin? Could you take that ounce of silver and put it into your gas tank or go down and buy a loaf of bread at the grocery store? Absolutely not. But there are grocery stores all over the country now that'll take cryptocurrency. Crypto has given us a financial technology that at the core is mind blowing. It's the most accountable money in the world. Take Texit coin, for example. We know exactly how many Texit coin there will be. We know every day how many new Texit coin there are. We know exactly where those Texit coin go. Texit coin's superior to Bitcoin because we know exactly what it's going to cost for you to get an exact amount of Texit coin mining power every day. You want more mining power? Well, you just follow the simple referral program that we have. You build your left and your right, or you do your 1, 2 free, and you get more power. In Texit coin, we're not competing against foreign nations that have unlimited free electricity and the ones that make the microchips that you need to process this stuff. We compete against each other to build our mine. Every time somebody gets 1, 2 free, the mine grows. Every time somebody puts their cash in, the mine grows. Every week, week in, week out, the mine grows in the most perfect, open, and honest, accountable monetary system planet Earth has ever seen. And that is something to get excited about. You can send Texit coin from here to the other side of the world and back in seconds, almost for free. And you don't even have to go through a bank to get there. That is something to get excited about. We've taken the bank out of the currency conversation. We have the ability now, once again, to transact quickly, easily, and do business with each other, buy and sell and exchange goods and services without having the bank or a central authority or a gatekeeper or a government involved in that conversation. What a powerful concept that is. That's what we have with Texit coin, the world's most honest money. And when you take honest money and you pair it up with a financial technology that puts the control of money back in the hands of the people, that is something that gives you the upside. Why is it that people can get rich off this? Because we've got a technology that's emerging. It's brand new. The world still doesn't understand it. And we've got something that's important as honest money. It's a part of our life every single day. It's the most important thing of all in civilization. We can either use clubs and guns to deal with each other by force, or we can trade with each other with honest money. Those are our options. Texit coin is what happens when financial technology, cryptocurrency, you still don't understand it for the most part, it's okay. But Texacoin is what happens when you take an emerging financial technology and you pair it up with a mission as important as honest money. That's what we have today. That's what makes this thing great. That's what you must not forget about as we get into the supercars and the yachts and the freedom field trips and all the other exciting things that are life changing. Always remember at the core of our project is our ability to take back control of money, put it in the hands of the people where it belongs, and to eliminate the Federal Reserve and their paper money printer from the conversation. And that is revolutionary. That's what Texacoin is. It's our chance to actually, for the first time in a long time, hundreds of years, to take back control of the issuance and control of money, put it back in our hands where it belongs. And we're doing all of this with ordinary, average people. I'm not special. I don't know if you think you are. Maybe you are. I don't know. But when a bunch of people see these dots that I've created for us, that I found and put together, and start connecting them with me, the project grows. As the project grows, the money comes in. We take the money and we do what we're supposed to do with it. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're not stopping at $16. $16 is a pit stop on the moon as we venture off into the very top, the very height of the cryptocurrency industry. You tell me who's out there leading the way. You got joke coins that are in the top 10 today. You're telling me that with our mission, our vision, our strategy, our leadership, our community, we can't get to the very top of the cryptocurrency industry? Absolutely not. There's no way that this is not a top 10 coin inside of the next year. We're breaking records week in, week out. We had some major accomplishments today that I don't even want to share with you because this is recorded and probably going to be visited later, long after it's old news. We know what we're doing. We know how to get there, and it's just pure fun now. It's work, but man, when you've got the power of truth on your side, it becomes fun. That's what Texacoin is today. Texacoin is what happens when hard work, honest money, financial technology, a great group of people get together and do something extraordinary. And that's what I'm excited about. And that's what I want to share with you here today. I'm Bobby Gray. I'm the guy that's lucky enough to call himself the founder of this thing. And I'm very proud of what we've created. I'm proud of how far we've come. And I want to remind you that this is still just the very beginning. It's Thursday, September 11th, 2025. We've come a long way in the last year and a half, and then some. We've got a long way to go. But man, it sure feels easy now, given how successful we've been and how much we have yet to look forward to coming our way. Thanks for joining me on this special Thursday night edition. Again, this is the last time that I'm planning on being here. I'm going to have some other great people that I'll invite to join you to share their version of this story with you. But please take it to heart, consider it, do your research if you're new. I'd like you to join us. If you're not yet mining Texacoin, I'd like you to throw some cash in. If you don't have $1,000, money's tight, and you want to support us, all good. Pick up a handful of coins, right? You can buy $2 worth of coins. If you bought $2 worth of Bitcoin when it was $3, you'd be pretty happy about it today. So don't ever get in with money that you're not comfortable putting at risk. But if you've got it and you'd like to take a journey with us, then please do. I would love to have you on our team, and I'd love to create a bright future along with you. Okay, that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks so much. Ooh, right about an hour. Thanks, and I look forward to seeing you guys on a future Tuesday night call. And a bunch of you are also going to jump on some planes in the next couple of days to meet us over in Thailand for the beginning of the next chapter of our story. I'm Bobby Gray. Have a great night, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, everybody.